Hello everybody, I'm Zita. Welcome back to our course. This month you are Intermediate 1 students, which means you have stepped up one more level. You'll find that at this level the grammar is a bit more difficult maybe, and you're going to learn lots of vocabulary items. I hope you're going to enjoy all the topics and you're going to find the course interesting. So let's get started because we have a lot to do. I'd like you to open your student's book now, please, on page 6. The title of Unit 1 is A World of Difference, and it's because we are going to talk about different things in different parts of the world. And as of grammar, we are going to do mostly revision in Unit 1, revising quickly the different tenses you know, the auxiliary verbs, word formations, and of course, there's the everyday situation section where we learn useful vocabulary that you can use in your everyday English. Now we're going to start with the starter, and I'd like you to have a look at the 7 questions there. It's the top of the page on page 6. In number 1 in the starter you have 7 questions, but each question has one word missing. I'd like you to work with a partner and I'd like you to find and write in the one word that's missing. For example, in question 1, where do you from is not correct. Where do you come from? So you have to show where and which word is missing from each question. You'll have a few minutes, so please complete the questions with your partner. Right, thank you very much. Now I'd like you to look up at the whiteboard and check the answers with me. So when and where were you born? Do you live in a house or a flat? Why are you studying English? Which foreign countries have you been to? What did you do yesterday evening? And what are you going to do after this lesson? After we have checked this, now I'd like you to get back together with the same partner and ask and answer these questions. Thank you very much, that was great. Now we are going to move on and we are going to test your knowledge of the world, doing a quiz. It's called One World Quiz and there are 12 questions. I'd like your teacher to put you into small groups, maybe groups of 3 students. And once you have found your group, I'd like you to read through the 12 questions and answer them. The questions can be found on page 7 of your student's book, so you need to turn the page, and there they are, the 12 questions. So when you're ready, off you go please. Right, have you all finished answering the questions? Then I'd like you to listen to this recording. I've got the answers of the quiz. I want you to check your answers against the listening and see which group got the most questions right.
Unit 1. Tape Script 1.1. One World Quiz. 1. In which country do men and women live the longest?
Women and men live longest in Japan. Women live on average 86 years and men 79. The average life expectancy in Japan is 81.25. In the USA, it's 77.8 and in Germany, 78.8.
2. In which year did the world population reach 6 billion?
The world population reached 6 billion in 1999. There are now over 6.8 billion people in the world.
3. If you're standing on the equator, how many hours of daylight do you have?
If you are standing on the equator, you have 12 hours of daylight every day of the year. You also experience the fastest sunrise and sunset in the world, between 128 and 142 seconds, depending on the time of year.
4. Where does most of the world's oil come from?
Most of the world's oil comes from Saudi Arabia. It produces 10.9 million barrels per day. Russia produces 9.4 million and Iran 4.3 million.
5. Which of these 7 wonders of the world is still standing?
Of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, only the pyramids of Egypt are still standing. The Colossus of Rhodes and the Lighthouse of Alexandria were destroyed by earthquakes hundreds of years ago.
6. Why didn't dinosaurs attack humans?
Dinosaurs didn't attack humans because they became extinct 65 million years ago. Human beings didn't appear on Earth until 130,000 years ago.
7. Where was the Titanic sailing to when it sank?
The Titanic was sailing to New York from Southampton when it hit an iceberg on April the 14th, 1912.
8. How long has Elizabeth II been Queen of England?
Elizabeth II has been Queen of England since 1952. She was on holiday in Kenya when her father, King George VI, died.
9. How many people have won the Nobel Peace Prize since it started in 1901?
94 people have won the Nobel Peace Prize since it started in 1901. These include Nelson Mandela in 1993 and Mother Teresa in 1979.
10. How long have people been using the Internet?
People have been using the Internet since 1969. It was invented by the US Department of Defense as a means of communication. It first went live in October 1969, with communications between the University of California and the Stanford Research Institute.
11. How many languages are spoken in Switzerland?
4 languages are spoken in Switzerland: German, French, Italian and Romansh. German is the most widely spoken. 63.7% speak German, 19.2% French, 7.6% Italian and 0.6% Romansh.
12. In which country were women first given the vote?
New Zealand was the first country in the world to give women the vote in 1893. Canadian women were given the vote in 1917, but women in Liechtenstein weren't allowed to vote until 1984.
Right, now let's double check the answers again together, please. Number 1, in which country do men and women live the longest? It's A, Japan. Number 2, in which year did the world population reach 6 billion? It was B, in 1999. 3, if you're standing on the equator, how many hours of daylight do you have? The answer is 12 hours, so it's A. 4, where does most of the world's oil come from? The answer is B, Saudi Arabia. 5, which of these 7 wonders of the world is still standing? It's the pyramids of Egypt. Answer B. 6, why didn't dinosaurs attack humans? The answer is B, because they became extinct before humans were on the earth. Number 7, where was the Titanic sailing to when it sank? It was sailing to New York. Answer C is correct. 8, how long has Elizabeth II been Queen of England? Since 1952, so the correct answer is A. Number 9, how many people have won the Nobel Peace Prize since it started in 1901? 94 people has won it, so the answer is C. 10, how long have people been using the Internet? Since 1969, so answer A. 11, how many languages are spoken in Switzerland? The answer is B, 4 languages. It's German, French, Italian and Romansh. Number 12, in which country were women first given the vote? And the country was New Zealand, so answer C is correct. Well done to the winning team, and well done to everybody actually. Now we're going to look at the language, the grammar that comes with the quiz. So in your group, I'd like you to look at the 12 questions again. This time, decide please, what tense are they? So for example, number 1, in which country do men and women live the longest? This is present simple. Can you please decide about the rest of the questions? So let's have a look at the tenses now. As we said, number 1 is present simple. Sentence 2 is past simple. Sentence 3 is in the present continuous. Number 4 is present simple again. Number 5 is present continuous. Number 6 is past simple. 7 is past continuous. Number 8 and 9 are in the present perfect simple actually. Number 10 is the present perfect continuous. Number 11 is the present simple, but it's a passive sentence. And number 12 is past simple in the passive. And now I'd like you to find me auxiliaries. In these 12 questions, there are auxiliary verbs. With other words, helping verbs. Our 3 helping verbs in English are be, do, and have. They are also used as full verbs. But here, they are all auxiliaries. Your job is going to be to sort out when is be, do, and have used. Please take notes. Which tenses are they used in and for what? Do you think they're used for making questions only? Or are they used for questions and negatives? Or are they maybe used in positive sentences as well? Please decide together with a partner. Off you go. Okay, so in number 1, the auxiliary is do. In present simple, we make questions using do or does, and we use them in the negatives as well. Number 2, did, is the helping verb. In number 3, it's are. Number 4, does. Number 5, is. 6, didn't. 7, was. 8, has. 9, have. 10, have and been. This one has got 2 auxiliary verbs. In 11, are, and in 12, were. Now I'd like to show you a bit of a grammar summary of auxiliary verbs. Now, here you can see the 3 auxiliary verbs again, used in the different tenses. Now we use them for making questions and negatives always, but in some tenses they are also used in the positive sentences. So helping verbs are called helping verbs actually because they help us with making questions and negatives, and they also help the main verb. They change the meaning a little bit. So be is used in present continuous. I am reading, he isn't listening, is he listening? They are always used. They are there in the positive, in the negative, and in questions as well. So if you have present continuous tense, the verb to be or its forms are always there before the main verb. Same in the past continuous. The past form of be is used, was or were, and they are always used. They're used in positive, in negative sentences, and in questions. Same in the present perfect continuous. So I have been studying hard, so the past participle of verb to be is used here. So as you can see, in all continuous tenses you always have to use the correct form of verb to be. Now let's move on to the auxiliary verb do. Do or does, and in the past did, is only used to help us make questions and negative sentences. So in present simple, in a positive sentence, we won't use them. So we'll say, I smoke, he smokes. But do and does are used to form questions, do you smoke, and to form negatives, he doesn't eat meat. In the past simple, it's similar to present simple. You again need the form of do in the past, which is did, and you use did or didn't to make questions and negatives. I didn't want to interrupt you. Or, did you go home after school? The auxiliary have has two forms, have or has in the third person, and it's always used in perfect tenses, in present perfect simple and present perfect continuous. I have read and I have been studying. Have is always used in positives and in negatives and in questions as well. The auxiliary verb be is also used in the passive, but that one we are going to talk about later on at one point. Okay, it's time for some practice. I'd like you to look at the same page again, page number 7, and up in the right corner there is practice exercise number 1. You're so wrong. We're going to practice using our auxiliary verbs, correcting sentences. The Pope lives in Madrid. Oh, he doesn't live in Madrid, he lives in Rome. You have to correct the information in the given sentence. Or, number 2, Shakespeare didn't write poems. You're wrong, he wrote hundreds of poems. So, you either have a positive sentence and you have to use a negative, and the other case, you can have a negative sentence and you have to answer with a positive one. In any case, the sentences have something wrong in them which you have to correct. Please get together with a partner and find the mistakes and make comments, just like in the examples. While you're listening, I'd also like you to listen out for the expressions. How can you say no in English? For example, in sentence 1, we used a negative sentence. He doesn't live. Or in sentence 2, we said you're wrong. Now, you're going to hear other expressions similar to these ones. Please try and remember them while you're checking your answers. Off you go.
Tape script 1.2. You're so wrong. 1.
The Pope lives in Madrid.
He doesn't live in Madrid. He lives in Rome, in the Vatican.
2.
Shakespeare didn't write poems.
You're wrong. He wrote hundreds of poems, not just plays.
3.
Vegetarians eat meat.
Of course they don't eat meat. They only eat vegetables and sometimes fish.
4.
The internet doesn't provide much information.
Rubbish! It provides lots. Sometimes I think that it provides too much.
5.
The world is getting colder.
It isn't getting colder. It's getting hotter. Haven't you heard of global warming?
6.
Princess Diana was travelling by plane when she was killed.
No, you're wrong. She wasn't travelling by plane. She was travelling by car in Paris.
7.
England has never won the World Cup.
England has won it. Just once. I think it was in 1966. My dad goes on about it all the time.
8.
The 2008 Olympics were held in Tokyo.
No, they weren't held in Tokyo. They were held in China, in Beijing.
To check our answers, I'd like you to turn the pages of your book to page 118. That's where you can find the tape scripts. And here we are going to look at the answers together. So page 118. Up there, tape script 1.2. You're so wrong. Now let's have a look. Number 3. Vegetarians eat meat. Of course they don't eat meat. So one way of saying you don't agree is to say of course and the negative. Of course they don't eat meat. Number 4. The internet doesn't provide much information. Rubbish. It provides lots. Is to say rubbish. But please be careful with this one. It's quite informal. So maybe you don't want to say this to your teacher or your boss. So, rubbish. It provides lots. So, the original sentence was negative. And here you use the opposite, so a positive sentence and different information. Number 5. The world is getting colder. It isn't getting colder, it's getting hotter. So you use a negative and a positive as well. 6. Princess Diana was traveling by plane when she was killed. No, you're wrong. So you say you're wrong and you use no as well to put more emphasis on it. She wasn't traveling by plane, she was traveling by car in Paris. Number 7. England's never won the World Cup. England has won it. So here you can use simply the auxiliary on its own and put stress on it. So when you actually say this, you'll say England has won it just once. I think it was in 1966. My dad goes on about it all the time. And number 8, the 2008 Olympics were held in Tokyo. No, they weren't held in Tokyo. They were held in China, in Beijing. Now I'd like you to practice these conversations with your partner for a few minutes, please. I'd like you to go back to page 7, please, now. And under the previous exercise, you're so wrong, there's exercise 3. Here you are going to have to decide which auxiliary verb is used, is or has. This is interesting because, as we know, the contracted form or the short form of them, for both of them, is actually apostrophe s. So when you only see the contracted form, we have to make sure that you know which auxiliary is behind. So please look at these sentences and decide if it's is or has. Off you go, you have about 3 minutes to do that. Right, so let's look at the answers. She's done really well. She has done really well. Champagne's made in France. Champagne is made in France. Passive sentence. Who's been to America? Who has been to America? He's leaving early. He is leaving early. Present continuous. What's produced in your country? What is produced in your country? Well done, everyone. And now we're going to listen to some more sentences. They're not written down anywhere. So I'd like you to relax, open your ears, and after each sentence, just shout out, is it is or has?
Tape script 1.3. Is or has. 1.
My brother's just got a new job.
2.
Is or has? Yes, has. My brother has just got a new job.
He's working in South America.
Can't hear you. Yes, is. He's working. 3.
3.
He's been there 3 months.
He's been there 3 months. Yes, has. That's right. He has been there. Good.
4.
He's having a great time.
Yes, he's having a great time. He is having a great time. Good.
5.
He's never worked overseas before.
He's never walked overseas before. Has. That's right. You're good.
6.
His company's called Intext Worldwide.
His company is called. So, is. Well done, everybody. Good. So now I'd like you to look at the talking about you section down here. You've got 10 questions. I'd like you to complete each question with an auxiliary verb. After that, we are going to check those and we're going to ask and answer these questions from each other. So please take a few minutes and complete the questions with the auxiliaries. Right, now let's have a look at the answers, please. Look up at the whiteboard What time do you usually get up at weekends? What time did you get up this morning? How long does it usually take you to get from home to school? Who's sitting next to you? What's he or she wearing? How long have you known the teacher? What were you doing when your teacher came into the room? What don't you like doing in English lessons? Which school subjects didn't you like when you were younger? Which other foreign languages have you studied? And what presents were you given on your last birthday? Now I'd like you to find a partner, hopefully somebody you haven't worked with today, so a new partner, and I'd like you to discuss these questions and answer all of them with your partner. Go and enjoy it, please. I'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you very much. I hope you had some interesting conversations. I'm sure you did. I wish I could hear them actually. Now you can close your student books, put them away, as our last activity is going to be a board game and again some conversations. Your teacher will have printed you a copy of the board games already. You'll need one copy of the board game for every 4 students. Or if it's 3 students or 2, that's also fine. It depends on how many you are in this class. Now, if you can see, in every corner there is a start square. So you need to find some counters, some players, either a pencil or something to put on to mark it's your square. Every student in the same group has to start from a different square, from a different corner. I want you to take one step forward each time and talk about the topic, answering the question in the square, and you have to time each other. Every student will have to try and speak for at least 1 minute about the same topic, okay? The questions are all about you, and the board game is called How Well Do You Know Me? Let's start it now. Enjoy the game, and before you finish, can you please remember to test your partners to see how much information do they remember about you. So I hope you got to know each other even better now. It's time for homework, and it's going to be in the workbook. So please open your workbooks on page 4. Your homework will be page 4 and 5. On these pages you are going to have to practice the auxiliary verbs, just like we did in class today. So I hope you enjoyed today, our first class, and that you can have some rest before your next lesson. I'm going to see you next time. Thank you for your hard work. Bye-bye.